Welcome to the Head Guy podcast. This podcast is sponsored by, if you've been watching before, you know it so well, Cards in Qatar, the #1 card website to buy all your birthday cards, your greeting cards, your farewell cards, your great teacher cards, get well soon cards, etc., etc. And also, this podcast has been sponsored by Mahaba, the #1 destination guide here in Qatar. So find out all your information about Qatar, where to go, where to dine, etc., etc. Pick it up in your local stores or go online, mahaba.com. So my special guest today, and he is a very special person, is Daniel Strutt, Dan Strutt, and he joins us on Zoom. Hello, Dan.
Hi, how are we?
Very good. So we got in contact. I got in contact with you about last month, and I wanted to bring you on the show in person, but then I didn't realize that you left the country.
Indeed, and I hadn't told you, and I apologize again.
Yeah, I won't hold it against you. So, my first question is, when you look at your LinkedIn page and you see this career that is mainly property, and you go 360 to being a full-time artist.
Yeah.
Tell us the journey. Why?
Well, what you're telling me first is I should update my LinkedIn page, aren't you?
Well, there is that. And also your last position was running a business. Like, you literally done the whole property journey and you started your own business, your property business.
Yeah.
And now you're in France.
Yeah.
Full-time artist.
On an island.
What happened? On an island.
What happened? You happened a little bit. You've got to take a bit of responsibility.
Oh no! Don't put it on my door.
What happened? I mean, a series of events. It's life, I suppose. Did we see ourselves in Qatar for a longer time? Yes. We wanted to see the World Cup through. We'd been there 10, 11 years. 2011, we got to Qatar after being in Dubai for a couple of years. And yeah, I mean, the situations change. We had a fantastic time there. Back when I first got to Qatar, I joined with a big real estate company, a big developer, when the Pearl was still in development. And for a good 7-8 years, I was with that company. And then, just a change of situation, I suppose. Long story. I'm not gonna bore you with the details. But there were various things going on, embargoes and this and that, and I was working for a Saudi company. So, we'd sold 3 towers on the Pearl. So they shut up shop. It was then that, I went into international property, a little bit into finance, passports, etc., and then eventually opened up my own real estate company. It was, again, that was at the time of COVID. So that opened, I suppose, the door to me exploring art again. Spending more time at home, all this time at home, I suppose, and having more time to do some art. It actually started with the family doing resin art, so small gifts, epoxy resin gifts, and we opened a little gift store on the compound where we, during COVID, we put everything outside and people could walk past and buy gifts. Things like key rings, coasters, bottle toppers, etc. And we loved it as a family, and it kind of got my creative juices flowing again, I suppose. And then I think it started with cable reels. So obviously there's an abundance of cable reels in Qatar. And I started decorating a couple and spraying on them. And, that again kind of developed into a couple of commissions for local neighbours. And so, yeah, I where I hadn't touched art for, a good 20 years, and I did art at school and quite successfully, it's something I've always loved. And I think, when you leave school, God, it's 20 plus years to go now, and you're pointed in a certain direction, and art wasn't one of them. But
I want to stop you there, because why wasn't it one of the options at the time? Why did you study art to not then think, okay, so when you studied art, what level were you studying art?
Well, we're talking at school. I didn't pursue it after that, but I went for a scholarship at school. And I got an A star for my A level work. So
you didn't want to go into college or university doing art?
Well, hindsight, I probably should have done. I think I was at a stage where I wasn't really sure where I was going. It was, let's go traveling first and decide. I ended up doing commercial management and quantity surveying at university, and then moved on to ergonomics, which there's a certain amount. Well, it's all design, I suppose. So, but I never pursued that. University. I could probably hold my hand on my heart and say I didn't take advantage of it in the ways that you probably should. Had great fun, had a great life.
So when you rediscovered your love for art during COVID, were you experimenting? The stuff that you were doing, was it from school, the stuff that you were doing, or were you learning online on how to do things? Where,
yeah,
where did you, what kind of style did you find yourself drawn to?
Well, I'd never used spray paints before, so I didn't follow on from what I'd been doing at school. Mainly acrylics. I mean, we covered everything. We did pottery and everything. But yeah, I kind of wanted to get into graffiti style spray cans, and explore that. And with a cable reel, it's big enough to kind of go down those routes. And so it kind of immediately went down that track. So a lot of spray can, a lot of masking. So it's making a lot of templates, because obviously unless you're working on a huge can or a wall or something with spray paints, to get the detailing is quite difficult. So so it's using a lot of masking tape and a lot of templates over templates over templates, peeling off, cutting again, and spray painting. And then these Posca pens have come out, which a lot of the kids know they're at schools now, but these acrylic pens, which a lot of artists use just to do the fine details as well. So it's a mixture of those two mediums. It kind of just went from there. So that's what I continue to do now. It's a lot of spray paint work. We've developed the resin into doing resin tables. I don't know if a lot of people have seen these with resin rivers flowing through them, and we're currently kind of build. I say we because I still do this with the family when it's the resin side of things. We're developing that and taking on some orders, so that's good. But yeah, my art, what style? I've struggled to put a kind of label on it. You don't want to go modern, this, there's street art, there's a bit of pop art in there. There's a bit of surreal stuff. A lot of people go, where does that come from? And I'm like, we're in there somewhere.
Well, this is it. This is something that I want to ask you. Being in the real estate industry, I take it there wasn't much time to go within yourself and to reflect, etc., etc. So, has that been a journey to explore what's actually in there?
Yeah, I mean, there's always been a creative side, and it's not just me saying that. Everyone has said you're, creative. I was able to, especially in the real estate side and marketing, I found that as an advantage and having a creative edge. But yeah, it has, because I don't plan very well for art, because I really don't know where it's going at the moment. I maybe haven't found my style completely, but I like having different options at the moment. Some are a little bit more serious, and I have watched a lot of tutorials and done a few classes, etc. And they say, find your niche, stick to it. People will people will come to you rather than you adapting to your market. At the moment, I kind of have to adapt to the market to a certain extent, because over the summer I work on the art market. So, it's when you're online, anyone can find you, and, your variety can be that much more. But I am appealing to a certain crowd, especially when it comes to those markets over the summer.
Well, that was going to be my next question: is what kind of crowd? Because it's interesting. You're creating your own community by the kind of art that you're producing, and I'm just curious. It's like music that, say for instance, like Madness is just coming to my head. That it pulled and it attracted a certain type of character, style, etc., etc. So, are you seeing a community around your art and the kind of characters that are drawn to your art?
Yeah, it's definitely getting there. I suppose there's, for a lot of the kind of canvas art and the spray work, it does attract a younger crowd. But living on an island as well, I suppose quite a few of my pieces are quite ocean themed, let's say. And, I'm surrounded by people that have their second homes here. And I kind of like to make people, especially when I see people pass the stand on the market, it makes them smile a while. And that's kind of what I've gone for. It's very colourful, and people stop and discuss it and talk about it and laugh, and that's what I like. So, you've got a lot of lovely houses around here, kind of, white walls, beach themes and stuff like that. So to have a colourful, which really stands out on a white wall, a really colourful piece which people can discuss, and that's I suppose is where we're going in that direction.
Oh, absolutely. No, and we will showcase your artwork as this podcast carries on. While we're talking, people can actually see your artwork. But it just made me laugh then, because you said, that people could have your artwork on their beautiful white wall, etc., etc. But I'm picturing, French architect, very, traditional, very French. And then you've got your artwork, which is very colorful, quite loud.
Yeah.
Very, how would you say it? Not the norm.
Yeah.
And I noticed there's an attraction to donkeys. What is that all about? There seems to be a main character that's a donkey.
Well, so you asked about the thought process moving here and kind of fitting into the mark, and I suppose that was where that was going.
So there are donkeys on the island?
Yeah, so I live on an island called Ile de Ré. It's just off the west coast, just off La Rochelle. It's famous for its it's famous for a number of things, but donkeys are one of them.
Okay.
And you see the donkeys kind of round the main town. There's the main town, Saint-Martin, is quite a big kind of fort, I suppose, and all the donkeys are in the field surrounding it. They're all covered in dreadlocks. The kind of, they look like they've got dreadlocks, and they wear pajamas. These donkeys.
What? Is there a reason for that?
I don't quite know how to explain it. No, the pajamas, they cover their legs, and traditionally they've been in kind of checkered or striped cotton, and it's to stop them being stung.
From horseflies? Is that
horseflies and the stinging neck? I don't know where this is, because donkeys are quite hardy animals, so I think they probably do without the pajamas, but it's become a thing. So all of the shops here, especially the gift shops and the tourist shops, there'll be a donkey somewhere. And it's normally a traditional donkey, and you see a lot of artwork with, a realistic donkey. Most people's houses have got them in, etc. So I thought, how can we take that, especially for the tourists who want to take, because it's a small island, especially in the winter, but the population, kind of is 10 times over the summer. So what will appeal to the locals, but what also would appeal to the tourists that can take away something, and, it's a donkey. I used the idea because NFTs were kind of making some big noise at the time. So I kind of took the idea of a donkey and making it into NFT style, I suppose. And it kind of just went from there. So now I've got a series of 5 series of donkeys. There's 17 in each series, because the number 17 is very relevant here, because that's their postcode. So you see them use that quite a lot. But I just started on these donkeys, and people were loving them. Started with a French and a British donkey, pretty simple. But then the commission started rolling in, and the special request: can you do a Elton John donkey? But can you put it in a what was that? It was in a European Golf Tour jacket. And so I can personalize them. A lot of the people buying them would know that's just for them, but there was a Maverick donkey, the guy who ordered that, he loves Tabasco, so he's got a little Tabasco badge in the place of one of his other badges on his flight jacket. So we've done a film series, a sports series we started, and icons, an icon series, film, sport, what's the other one? Music. So we've done a Michael Jackson donkey and stuff like that.
No, now that you've explained where the concept came from, and the donkeys being on the island,
yeah,
and they had the pajamas, they had the hair. It just, now I can see it. Now I can see how your imagination just went wild.
The only thing, and I'll admit this, NFTs aren't very big in France.
Okay.
So I think it was still so that was a learning process. A lot of the kids, I say kids, a lot of the teenagers or guys in their young 20s, when they walk past, they're like, oh, NFT, NFT, NFT. But probably more the generation that can afford a donkey don't know NFTs so much. So, and that's why actually most of the donkeys have gone abroad. So most of the big commissions, and they've gone to UK, have still got clients in the Middle East, clients in Spain. So yeah, most of them have traveled abroad.
But is there not a way to, okay, donkeys are relevant to the island where you are,
Yeah.
but also can you not expand to different animals depending on what's relevant to, different countries, areas, etc., etc. There could be a whole community of these different types of characters
Yeah. I see. Yeah, definitely.
in that same kind of style that you produce.
I mean, if I was in Qatar, I'd probably be doing the Oryx, isn't it?
Hold on. Did you say Oryx? I'm sure it was Camel, wasn't it? Camel.
Or what's the national
No, I know. Yes, all right. It's the Oryx, but let's focus on the Camel.
I just twigged. Yeah. Actually, a camel would make a great kind of in the style of NFT. Yeah.
We're happy to promote you if we suddenly receive a ginger camel style. We're happy to push it out there.
Mental note. And there's a big piece of spare wall behind you that could do with a
Absolutely, and this goes out every week. So having that behind me,
right,
you can see it, can't you?
Well, that's I've got a bit of artist block at the moment, but that's just filled a space. So there we go.
So I'm curious then. Okay, now you explained your style of artwork, and where the character came from with the donkey. I'm just curious, because this podcast is coming from Qatar. Actually, when I found out that you had literally thrown yourself fully into art, I've always seen you as this colorful character anyway. You always turned up at networking events with a very bright blue suit, your style of beard, etc. You were very much like a Carl Larson kind of character, arty kind of character. I think you used to have like a little handkerchief out of your pocket as well. So,
I tried.
And a lot of people come here to Qatar. They generally plan to stay here for a year or two, but end up staying longer. And then, they do make that move either back home or they move somewhere else. What was that transition like for you? Because you were here for quite some time, and to leave here and as well change direction in your career, what's that journey been like?
Yeah, I'm trying to think back now. I mean, it was a tough decision. We were very, very comfortable there. So, as I said, we loved life there. It's not like we left because we didn't like it. School was fantastic. It's fantastic for kids. It's a playground for adults as well. You've got everything on your doorstep. It was made easier by the fact that, where we're moving to, we are surrounded by family. I'm closer to my family in the UK. My wife's family live here. We have a house here. And, we know my wife spent every single summer on the island growing up. So she knows all the locals. That has been, moving forward a little bit, that's been really helpful with the art as well, because I've been commissioned by the local council, etc., and different bars, etc. So there's been a lot of contacts there, which has made my transition into, the art world a lot easier. Getting on the markets, it's not that easy. You need to know people and be referred here and there. So I'd been lucky in that respect. As a family, it's all very exciting at the time. We moved here just over a year ago. It's a beautiful place to live. But yeah, it's always going to be tough leaving friends that, we had a really close community. The compound we lived on was absolutely fantastic. So I'm very much when a decision's made, it's made. I don't dwell on stuff too much, and I think definitely for my wife, she's with her family here, so that's easy. For me, maybe a little bit more difficult. I don't speak French very well, for example, so that's been one of the challenges. There's going to be challenges, everywhere, whichever decision you make. I'm taking lessons. It's difficult. French is difficult. I understand quite a bit, but being able to communicate with people, especially when you're selling to people, being able to get that connection and tell the story, because I believe that sells art as well. A lot of people stop at my stand, or stop to look at the art, or whether it's displayed in bars, but being able to approach them and, this has come from here, and build that relationship. I'm missing that a little bit, because I think that really helps sell when you can, the story of the donkeys, rather than people just looking, laughing, and, to be able to have that interaction with them would make sales easier, I suppose. But yeah, it was difficult, but it's done, and everyone is happy. So
Good to hear. No, I'm just curious, because when you're learning French, is it a one-to-one, or are you in a class? Because if it's a one-to-one, then could you not get your teacher to teach you French in the way of telling stories? So literally, you're learning the story of the donkey that you want to give to your potential clients when they come and, they see the market, that it off by heart, because that's all you've been doing. You've been learning French and telling those stories.
It's, it's not an individual class. That's the thing. Luckily enough, the local community, they provide free lessons, which is fantastic. So I have that once a week, but
that's great.
You've got 4 or 5 people, and some of them, the level is quite high, so that the lesson kind of tends to be at that level. So conversational French, we're learning about things that I haven't heard in years in school, subjunctive and this and that, and I'm like, what? Past, present, all of this, which is quite complex in French anyway. And then you've got the whole, a table is masculine and a chair is feminine aspect of the whole thing. Yeah.
And when you're
Duolingo's good, and that's how
Duolingo
on the app, the Duolingo app, that's really good. And I take 10 minutes a day to use that, so that helps.
Very good. And does the family try and speak French when you're at home, or is it always, back to English?
Yeah, no, it's one of those things, right, we're going to do this. We're going to speak French all day. 5 minutes later, I've walked out the door because I don't understand anything. It's talked about a lot. We don't put it into practice so much.
Yeah. No, I know it can be difficult. I'm just curious, also with the transition from Qatar to France, what was it like? Because you had a job where, you probably had routines. You got up, you put your suit on, you did various things, and then you're out the door. You're out generally most of the time trying to sell property, rentals, etc., etc. And then you came home after, a full day, family time, tea time, chill in the evening, or socialize, etc., etc.
I think I missed the beginning of that. It cut out a little bit.
Oh, okay. No, I was just saying, how has it been? Because you probably had a routine.
Yeah. Okay.
Being here and then not having a routine, going to France. What's that been like?
Yeah, you have to be. You have to be disciplined I suppose it is from having a job to not having a job. That's kind of, if you put it in black and white terms. It's been fine. I've got a studio at home. A lot of my work is quite weather dependent, so over the winter that was quite difficult because I don't have a workshop at the moment. That's the plan for this year, for somewhere where I can sand or make loads of mess or spray, because that's either outside or you need a room with various extractions. So I mean, those are challenges, but I find I've got, and I thought, not that I was unique in this, but I suppose it's like authors as well. I'll start something and then I'll kind of not lose interest in it, but I'll lose my way with it. So it sits there. So I've got enough projects going on. And this is again, from watching various tutorials, etc. This is a thing, you start something, you don't like it, you come back to it. There's nothing wrong with that. I've got enough things on the go to start things, put it down, come back to it later when I got a bit more inspiration. So I busy myself, otherwise, I've got the option of waking up late and going and sitting on the sofa watching French TV all day. That may help my French, but I like to be busy. I like to, still got to get up, do the school run, which is a 3-minute walk down the road. So, I mean, that's not too challenging, but from there, the day starts. If it's nice, I mean, the weather here is fantastic throughout the year, but obviously you've got winter, but if it's nice, I can be outside, I can be doing stuff. And otherwise I can be painting or doing something, so I keep busy. It's good.
And while you were talking, I'm just curious, because while you were here, you had your suit, you had your bright blue suit, the handkerchief, the way you looked, etc. So now that you're a full-time artist, what's the style? What's the look?
stripy t-shirts. That's all. I couldn't find my beret.
Yeah, I was expecting, because we had a chat earlier, and you said, oh, I wanted you to look like an artist. So yes, I was expecting the beret.
Yeah, couldn't find the beret. Sorry. Well, firstly, I have 20 suits in the basement, which I'm not going to wear ever again. Yeah, a lot of time. We've just kind of done the conversion of changing summer clothes to winter clothes and putting them away. And I found all my suits from Qatar, all my work shoes. I don't think there's any place for them here. I kind of thought, oh, I can, new country, new profession. I can be that kind of quirky British artist guy. But I suppose when you're just wearing stuff, I don't know what people think, probably when I do the school run and stuff like this, because I'm just covered in mess. So that is the style. It's kind of, people will go, is he a painter? Is he a gardener? Is he, he's just covered in stuff. Because when you're sanding, obviously you're covered in, wood and sawdust. Yeah, there isn't no style. It's just unfortunately, it's just a mess at the moment.
Yeah, so there will be a point when you've got your whole repertoire of artwork that is waiting to be sold, that then you can, and you're selling it, then you can become that flamboyant English gentleman that, is very arty, and flamboyant hat or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. We're waiting for that stage, yeah.
I'm just curious, what is it like? Because I know you talked about it when we spoke before, but just describe the atmosphere of the market, selling your artwork with other artists.
I mean, it's the best office in the world. It's such a beautiful island. The markets are generally, I'm doing less markets this year because some work, some don't, some have the foot traffic, some don't. I really threw myself at I was doing 5 days a week last summer. But they're generally in beautiful places. So, the island has their markets every morning anyway, with all the fresh fruit and veg, the seafood. But it's a very arty island. There's a lot of artists here. So they've started more and more having these specialist artist markets. One of them's down by the port, and it's beautiful down there. The most regular one is, just outside a church, in the kind of shadows of a church. The setting is just lovely. And you get to know the community. These guys have been doing it for a couple of years now. And you've got all sorts. You've got a lot of kind of retired guys that are there for their, a little bit of a day out. If they sell something, great. It's a bonus. You've got some of the younger, more astute artists that I suppose rely on it more as their profession. It's they have to sell, and it's been interesting seeing the contrast between the two. And sometimes there's a bit of conflict. You've got the traditional artists doing their watercolor, and everything has to be original and new. Some of the younger artists are selling prints to their work, even down to you've got the originals, but some of these things they're selling for a couple of €1,000. It's not something everyone can afford.
Yeah.
But you can buy the poster version of it and the stickers. And sometimes that gets a bit of conflict from the older guys, and I have to sit there at lunch, because everyone gets together at lunch. We sit in the middle of the square, in the middle of the market. The bottles of grape juice come out, very conscious. You're in Qatar. And the seafood comes out, and everyone shares, and you have your, I suppose, what is a traditional kind of 2-hour French lunch where everyone sits around and enjoys each other's company. And there's a lot of sharing going on there. But sometimes I see the conflict, people are like, oh, well, this is meant to be a traditional artist selling originals, and you're selling posters. This is one of the arguments last year. And I thought, well, hang on, these guys, they're making money, because a 30 quid poster, somebody can walk past and pick up and walk off with. So that was interesting. But there's a mixed group, all eccentric, and it's been a pleasure. And I'll be starting, I think, on the 10th of April again, so I'll see them after a good break.
But that's what I want to ask also, is the fact that, when you were over here, you were within the business community. It was business. You're mixing with other real estate agents, etc., etc. So how does that feel as well, that now you've left that behind, and now you're mixing with artists and creatives?
Yeah.
How was that transition?
Um,
And do you see yourself there, being one of them?
Yeah, I suppose so. The first year was just very much a learning curve. So there's lots more things that I've got planned this year. The markets are only there during the summertime, kind of 4 or 5 months of the year. So, and as this is my profession, it's not a hobby. You have to find other ways. Now, obviously, a lot of stuff is online everything is online these days. So, yes, I can see myself at the markets, but then I've withdrawn from some of the markets because then they weren't working. So it's finding other ways to sell. That was one of the biggest things when we first moved here. Yes, I'm doing art, fantastic. I'm following my dream. It's all well and good doing art, but you've got to be able to sell it. And all my art is scattered around the house now. I'm thinking, when that will sell, when can that sell? But it's not going to sell stuck on your wall, kind of thing. You've got to have it out there.
Well, that could be the next question. This can lead onto the next question, is how do you get out there on all platforms, You know, what have you found that works, that doesn't work?
Well, social media, I found I have to be on top of social media, um, uh, and all the time. We're lucky enough to have a good social media platform anyway, because we've got a rather famous dog, who's born and bred in Qatar, Alan the Wonky Dog.
Yeah.
And we've got an audience of 2.3 million on TikTok. There's a good 85,000 on Instagram. So at the moment, and over the winter, why aren't we using that together and bringing everything under one umbrella? So my logo and my brand, obviously Wonky Dog Studios, and then we've got Alan the Wonky Dog, and we're bringing it all under one umbrella, so we can take advantage of the online community we have. Not only to support Alan, we have a charity for Alan as well. We're setting up Alan the Wonky Dog Charitable Trust, but there's a GoFund page at the moment, and that's to help dogs in Qatar.
Nice.
We rehomed stray dogs when we were there, and Alan made the trip along with a host of other animals and cats and all sorts over to France. But we're continuing that work because that's where we built. It was from Qatar that we built that base anyway. So we're bringing everything under the umbrella of Wonky Dog Studios. Alan is obviously the star, Alan the Wonky Dog, but my art will be available to that community there. And yeah, we're just kind of taking advantage of it and bringing it all together. My wife's bringing out a book as well. I told you I was going to plug this.
Yeah, no, please do. We showcase that. You sent me a copy of the book.
Yeah, definitely. Alan the Wonky Dog book, which has been kind of a big build up, and there's a lot of, especially from the supporters on TikTok. That's been long anticipated, so that's coming out.
And you did all the artwork for that book?
I did the artwork for the book. Yeah.
How was that?
Well, that was a new learning process as well, because I'd never got into the digital art side of things. My daughter is fantastic on Procreate, but it's quite daunting unless you just get on with it. So I took a course on that, and especially for things like books. And I'm going to actually digitalize the donkeys, so we can turn them into T-shirts and a bit more merchandise, mugs, etc., and coasters, posters. So learning that was interesting, and and it's to be able to do these things digitally now is fantastic. It opens another kind of window, I suppose. But yeah, doing it for the book it's great, because I get to have my input into the book, put my story there, and yeah, no, it's all finished and done now. Just waiting for them to be launched.
Yeah, congratulations. I'm just curious, what's your viewpoint? I want to hear from an artist about AI and art. Have you experimented with your own art to see if it comes up with anything that's out of the box, or have you not even gone there yet?
Haven't gone there yet, but it has been the topic of discussion in the last week or so. Yeah, but I don't know enough about it. I know for other aspects, especially writing, there's these various new platforms which can do some crazy stuff. As far as from the art side, yeah, I don't know so much. But we'll explore it.
Yeah, why not? Got nothing to lose.
No. Yeah, as long as it doesn't put all artists out of business.
No, the idea needs to come.
Yeah.
all right, people can put, I want this and I want that, etc., etc., and it puts a mismatch of what you think. But this is the main generator that has its own universe of thinking and artwork, etc., etc. So
I think art's already been through that journey where it could have been taken over. People, can print something off the internet and put it in a frame, but original art is always going to sell.
no, absolutely.
So yeah, I think it's kind of been through that journey, and I don't think there's that threat there that it would take over too much. But yeah, we'll see, I suppose.
So as we're coming to the end, I'm just curious for the future. Do you see yourself getting old, being one of the old artists that that's selling the donkey pictures, and then you'll have all the new generation coming in with all this brand new stuff? Or do you see yourself using it as a base and exploring?
I think we'll just see. I honestly don't know. I'm not the only decision maker.
No, I know that. You'll talk to the boss.
Yeah. I mean, we moved here as a kind of not a reset year, but years gone. Yeah. I don't think, luckily what I do can be transported, wherever we are. My wife's work is online as well. We're very happy here. We couldn't be in a better place. But I think if the need to move, but if we wanted to, it's not as daunting. Obviously, you've got to think about kids and schooling, and transporting animals as well. That's the one. That's the one bane. But yeah, it's a very seasonal island. So we've only been through one winter. So we'll see. I don't know if I'm ready to kind of fit in with the local community in that respect, because it is, during the winter, it's a lot of retired people, and I'd love to have the option to flip between one country and the next, but I need to sell a bit more art for that to happen and have those options. But yeah, for now, very happy. Could we spend the rest of our lives here? Yes, probably. There's not much to fault about the island. If an opportunity came up in Qatar or something like that, I suppose that would be determined more from Joe's work, my wife, and we had to move, then we'd be open to that. I can grab all my art stuff, and actually, now that I'm more set up, I think had I been able to do that in Qatar quicker, I think it's people have got more disposable income there. It's a wealthy place, and I still have clients back in the Middle East, and that's where it all started. If we could settle back there, I know the art would work back there. It started off, cable reels, garden art, and a lot of people spend a lot of time in their gardens out there, and they've got the space for art. So yeah, I forget what the question was now, but am I going to grow old here? Probably yes.
Okay, no, but I can see it. If you're going to get old there, then yes, I can see you using it as a base and exploring the rest of the world and using the markets that you're familiar with. So
yeah. I mean, it's nice to be. That's one thing. It's nice to be back. We've got Europe on our doors. We can drive around Europe and stuff like that. So that's something we're going to do much more of. But yeah, this is base for now and for the foreseeable future.
Finally, I was in two minds whether to ask you this, but when I was learning to be a life coach, I'm just curious because you were one of my star clients. Did it help in any way?
Yes, definitely. I was well, I've never been sure about stuff like that. I'd never been presented with it or offered, I suppose, the opportunity like you did, for me. And not so much wary. I just, you kind of think it is is it counseling? Is it, do I need this? But it wasn't, it was, well, it's life coaching, as you say, and kind of, getting into my thoughts and allowing me to express my thoughts and really think about. And it was definitely helpful in the fact that what happens, kind of what happens. And yeah, you help with me directing my thoughts on what would make me happy, and what kind of line I wanted to go down. I think I took that to an extreme.
Yeah, that's why I was a bit shocked when you told me, oh, we moved to France and I'm a full-time artist. I went, holy moly, that was a powerful coaching session.
Because at the time we were talking about kind of fusing or bringing art more into the real estate business. And I love that, that idea, bringing the two together. But yeah, I sacked one and totally took up the other one. But, I'm here smiling. So, yeah, it's, it definitely made me think more, and it's, and here I've got a lot more time on my hands to think as well. It's beautiful. I get out cycling and running, and the local scenery is absolutely beautiful, and you think more. And yeah, it does. You've only got one time on this earth kind of thing. So you have got to make the most of it. I'll probably say that when we get to a certain age, don't we, as well? It's like, it's not a midlife crisis, me moving to France and taking up a new job, but it's, yeah, no, it was very helpful. I think you knew I enjoyed them, and, I was able to come out my shell a little bit and explore those thoughts. And as I say, it wasn't all down to me moving here. It definitely made things easier because I thought, wow, yeah, I am pursuing what I want to do. It's not daunting. It's good for all of us. I'm happy. Everyone's happy around us. So yeah, no.
Well, I appreciate your honesty, and I appreciate you volunteering to be one of my clients while I was training. And I am very happy for you where you are now, and for your future. And I'm very happy to see your art and how it's growing and blossoming, and that you're in a happy place for you and your family.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, it's all good, But when we look forward to coming back to Qatar, visiting.
Well, I look forward to my camel picture behind me.
Yeah, but no worries. I got a busy summer, but
all right, yeah, anytime.
No, I'm already thinking about it. That's another thing to get. That's another. I like that. No, that's a promise. There you go.
All right. Everyone that watches this, you've heard it from Dan. He's promised. If there isn't a canvas, then we can contact him. You know where to get in contact with him. Anyway, thank you, Dan. Much appreciated. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy the nature. Bare feet. Nature. Fresh air.
Yeah, no, I will do. I really
and a glass of grape juice, I'm sure.
Cup in there.
All right, thank you, Dan. Just a reminder for everyone, this episode has been sponsored by Cards in Qatar, your number one birthday card, gift cards, greeting cards, farewell cards, and Mahaba, the number one destination guide here in Qatar. Thank you again, Mr. Dan. I cut you off with the sponsored message. Thank you, mate. You take care.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.